Sick and tired of your love-hate relationship with wine?
Welcome to the Feel It Alcohol Free podcast. Hi, I'm Coach Ruby Williams.
And I'm Coach Susan Larkin.
We're two former wine lovers turned alcohol freedom coaches, exposing the lies about alcohol
and giving you, our listeners, the tools to break free so you can feel lit.
And when you're lit, you'll feel healthier, freer, and more in control of your life.
So relax, kick back, and get ready to feel lit alcohol-free.
And don't forget, grab a copy of our wine-free weekend guide after the show.
Hey, everybody. I am so excited to be with you today. And hello, my dear, sweet Ruby.
Hello.
Well, we have a wonderful, exciting topic ahead based on a listener's question from our Facebook community regarding our feelings. So we joke around in the sober verse about the good part of not drinking is that you start to feel your feelings, and the bad part about alcohol-free living is you feel your feelings. Because a lot of us, I know, used to numb our feelings. Used alcohol to numb our feelings, at least I did. And so this listener's question is, I have been alcohol free now for a few months and I'm so emotional. I cry every... So Ruby, I'm going to toss this to you to answer this question about the emotional roller coaster of early alcohol free living.
Yeah, this is such a good question because, well, first of all, is there something wrong with me? No, it's absolutely so normal. Mm-hmm. I think, well, myself, as well as pretty much every client, it seems to go through this. Like, it's just part of the alcohol-free journey, like Susan was saying. But I wanted to just share a story because so you can relate and like you're not alone if this is happening to you. I just remember one day, I was probably, about 3 months alcohol-free, just like our listener. And I was all of a sudden crying for like 2 or 3 hours, just sobbing and I couldn't figure, there was nothing that was happening, there's no real reason. It just, I was crying and I tried not to judge it, but I was just like, why? So now I know all the science now, after, becoming a coach and a sleep coach, and your body is healing, and actually it can take, you could be on a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. You can't see my hands now, but I'm like, it's like your body starts to heal and wants to reach homeostasis with so many different things. And really it's the sleep that's healing. Your sleep is where you process your emotions. I never knew that you needed to heal your emotions too, not just heal your brain and heal your body, but your emotions. So an emotional roller coaster is where you just have these strange, like, bursts of different emotions, and they're temporary. It might be anger. I remember anger showing up. I was so angry for no reason, or sadness, or it can also be happiness. So an emotional roller coaster, it starts to kind of level out over time, but you could have these spikes of emotions for up to 2 years. So everybody's different. I also want to say that, meaning how long you might have this emotional roller coaster. It could be different. But yeah, so what do you think about this, Susan? Did you experience this too?
Oh, yes. I wasn't in touch with my emotions at all. So when I started feeling so many emotions, my first instinct was, of course, go numb them with alcohol, because that's what I'd always done. Anger, sadness, any emotion, really, even happiness. Sometimes, like on a Saturday afternoon, I would just start to feel so happy in my life, and it would be like it's kind of a perverse thought of like, oh, alcohol will like increase the happiness, you know what I mean? But it actually ended up dulling it. We know that now. And I know that even in the experience of doing it when I was actually doing it, but it was sort of like, I think Brene Brown talks about foreboding joy. It's almost like, oh, if I feel too much joy, then that means, something bad's going to happen or something. It's kind of nutty. So for me, it was just part of the experience in my alcohol-free living was to even just learn about my emotions. Like, what am I feeling now? And there's a tool called a feelings wheel that we often use in our coaching just to help people look and identify the emotion that we're feeling in that moment, because, maybe you think, oh, I'm just feeling sad, but is it really sadness, or is it, I don't know, or feeling morose, or feeling like what I used was a thesaurus. So I'd put in like the general feeling that I was feeling, and then I would get all these different synonyms, and I would find the one that really spoke to the actual essence of how I was feeling. And I kind of gamified it a little bit, which actually sort of helped with the intensity of kind of experiencing all these emotions. I kind of took it on as a thing, like a task or a challenge of like, how many ways can I really figure out my emotions, which sort of helped a little bit with the intensity of like, wow, why am I feeling all these emotions? So,
Yeah.
And one of the things that we can feel also is no emotions or blah. And I hear that a lot from clients is, I don't know, I just feel so blah, like nothing is, there's no enjoyment in life.
Yeah.
And there's actually a scientific term for that.
Yeah. Could we go back though really quick to the emotion wheel? Because what I'm hearing you say, Susan, is that it's really important to name the emotion. Yeah. I just wanted to reiterate, like naming the emotion, knowing it's temporary, and then using the feeling wheel. And you can just Google feeling wheel, and there are so many different versions of it. And you also mentioned Brene Brown, which is interesting because she did a study where most people only feel 3 emotions, or know how to say 3 emotions: happy, sad, and angry. But then when you do this feelings wheel, you can go out, like you said, you use the thesaurus, but you can also, it's just, you start to like get deeper and deeper into what are you really feeling in your body? And it's so important to name that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And no, I love that. Naming the emotion, sometimes that brings down the intensity of what you're feeling right there. It's really important to actually acknowledge and feel the emotion versus resisting it, because what we resist persists. And going back to awareness, we always go back to those pillars. It's just part of this experience is of being aware of what you're feeling and allowing it, because that's part of the healing. You mentioned sleep, but the emotional healing is just to allow ourselves to let those feelings bubble up and out. It's better out than in. So if you're crying every day for 3 weeks, then just cry and let it out, because that's part of the healing process. So I love that so much. So one of the other things that people talk about feeling is feeling nothing. Mm-hmm. In early sobriety is this lack of feeling, or feeling like everything's just sort of blah. So we kind of call it the blahs in early alcohol-free living, or when you first quit drinking. But there's actually a scientific word for it, which is anhedonia, which is ANHEDONIA. I just like to spell it in case people want to look it up. Anhedonia.
I am learning something new. Yeah.
Yeah. So what that is it's very common. So what happens when we drink, and as we know, and we've talked about on this podcast before, is you get this very high artificial dopamine hit in your brain. And what happens then is our bodies are very smart, and they're trying to conserve energy. So they go, oh, hey, I don't need to make this dopamine anymore, because Susan's giving it to me on a daily basis in large quantities with all the white wine she's drinking. So your body stops making the dopamine. And then when you stop drinking, your body takes time to start regenerating the dopamine making in your brain. And so there's this period of time where you may experience these blahs, because your body just has a lack of dopamine manufacturing. And And I think that, I did experience that. And then when I started and I was working on my feelings, and then I did start to feel, I just want a story about feeling real joy. So I started doing this thing probably close to like over 100 days. I think I was over 100 days alcohol free at this point. And I started setting an intention for how I wanted to feel that day. Like I up until that point, I was learning more and more about my feelings. So I set an intention. And one day I set the intention to feel joy. And I did. But it was so intense that it was like, not scary, but just like, oh my gosh, this is like too much joy. Oh my goodness. And so I was joking around, but it was true. I went and hugged a tree and I was like, I need to just like press some of this joy into you, tree, because I just can't even contain it all. It was just so we do, like when you said the roller coaster, there are very, very high highs there. We can feel lows. It is a roller coaster that includes the highs. And sometimes the highs are just as uncomfortable as the lows because it's like, I just wasn't used to feeling joy, which is kind of sad, but feeling that. Yeah, but it was also kind of exciting too to go, oh, I can actually start to feel joy again. Or have I ever felt joy? ? So
good question. Maybe another episode in the future. I want to go back though to the blahs because this is so common. I mean, if you're experiencing the blahs, I think I hear it with so many of my clients, that this happens, and I just didn't know it had a name. The anhedonia. Anhedonia. It has a name. Anhedonia. But the blah. So, it could happen at different times for you. I think it did happen around the same time for me too, like around 60 days or 90 days alcohol free. But there are so many ways that you can actually kickstart your dopamine, right? And naturally, right? We want to start knowing like what are the ways to start to build that up. The chemical, the dopamine, the brain chemical. Again, I love the way you explained it. Super cool way. But some of the ways are like setting goals, having a purpose, doing daily practices. I love this. Dancing, moving, singing. Cold water therapy. There's some supplements like the L-theanine and the L-tyrosine that can help with dopamine levels. Is there other things you wanted to add, Susan, to this long list? There's a lot of things that we can do.
Yeah, there are a lot of things. Yeah, absolutely. Some of the things that worked for me, well, B vitamins right there are just regular old B vitamins, and in your nutrition, I think we've talked about this before, but getting protein, the amino acids in protein really starts to help build the neurotransmitters in our brain, and strength training, which I mentioned as one of my lit practices, right. Strength training, aerobic activity. So a lot of my clients really make exercise like almost a non-negotiable as part of their almost daily routine, even if it's a walk or yoga or something gentle. And I did too. Like it was like I had to exercise to help me be processing a lot of the stuff that was just going on in my body. So there's also a practice called savoring, which I love this idea, because if you're not feeling pleasure in normal daily activities, it's something that maybe as a practice or as a challenge you take on, because what has happened is everything just becomes a haze of Sauvignon Blanc. If for me, at least, it's like if I drank for all of what, pleasurable activities in life, and now I'm not drinking, like sometimes those things can feel a little bit of a lack. And again, that's the low dopamine. So it's starting to just recognize, what is, I call it cultivating pleasure. So starting to cultivate that, like really savor a really delicious, good meal and really taste the flavors, or even bringing in like essential oils to your shower and having this burst of tangerine smell while you're showering, and just bring in and cultivate pleasure in your daily activities and really start to notice it and savor it. This idea of savoring, like, my gosh, I'm having this delicious chicken or this delicious Mississippi mud pie now that I'm alcohol free and I'm having dessert instead of drinks and just, but like really, don't shovel it in. Like I am a shoveler. Okay. My daughter even said like I was a guzzler when I used to drink. That was super embarrassing when my daughter was old enough to drink and we were like sharing a bottle of wine and she's like, Mom, you're such a guzzler. I was like, I was so embarrassed, but I eat fast. I drink fast. I do everything fast. And so it was
maybe
it was a practice for me to slow down and savor. Well, I still do, but it is a practice that I have to remind myself to slow down and enjoy,
Yeah.
So,
I love this word watch. You love to I love the
Oh, yes. Well,
no, it's just we're out on patient.
Oh, yeah. So again, back to when you mentioned only the three emotions, happy, sad, and angry. That was me. And so that's where the thesaurus was really helpful for me. So if I'm just like, I'm just feeling angry, I could go look and am I really angry? Am I like perturbed or am I outraged or, like get just a different word. And so my coach at the time told me great practice. It just didn't, again, to start to get me to become aware of actually what I was feeling. It was also to help me with being able to regulate my emotions, right? To get to a place of emotional mastery, which we can talk about, on another episode, because we just have to start again with awareness. So I set a timer like 3 times a day or more, maybe 5, where the timer would go off and I would just stop and go, okay, what am I feeling right now? And again, you could use the feelings wheel, you could use a thesaurus, and I would try to identify that feeling to as close to a different word besides happy, sad, or angry as possible. And I have a funny story about this because I remember, the alarm going off and I'm like, okay, I'm just like I got home from work and I was on my schedule that I made for myself, I was supposed to like get on the exercise bike, but I was just like not in the mood, but I was in a crummy mood and I was just bleh, like just wandering around the house feeling all kind of itchy and crabby and poopy and like I'm like, okay, what am I feeling? And I went into the thesaurus. I'm just sort of like procrastinating, but not just sort of bleh, and one of the synonyms that came up was shilly-shally, and I was like, oh, it just made me laugh. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just shilly-shallying around, just not doing anything, not getting on the bike, just wasting time, and but it was so funny because it like kind of identifying that, and then that word is just funny, shilly-shally, right? And it just kicked me out of that mood. And I'm like, okay, shilly-shally, Susan, go get your shilly-shally butt on the bike, And then I got on the bike and I did my workout and I felt so much better afterwards. But in some ways that, I don't know, I love that story because it just naming the emotion kicked me out of that feeling that way, because it kicked me into just sort of laughing at myself a little bit and laughing about that funny word shilly-shally. So so I recommend setting a timer and doing a little exploring of your emotions.
That's one of, if you want to use side of the wheel, is out even further. Yeah.
Patience. My mantra was never question the decision.
I love that mantra.
Patience, that's not one of my virtues. That is not one of my virtues. I am not patient. And so, I was like, no, I want to get this. I want to get it now. But it does take a lot of time. And actually, it's a lifetime pursuit. I don't have the emotional mastery that I would like to have. And I learned something from you, Ruby, about needing to sleep to heal your emotions. Because when I've recently just been sort of in a high stress, high emotional state in my life in general, and I just feel like I'm tired all the time and I need more sleep, and I wonder if I just need that sleep to kind of heal everything that's been going on with me right now. So I'm like, okay, I just need more sleep, and I should get that. Like, you need to listen to your body. If your body's saying you need more sleep, then you need more sleep, right? It's probably what it needs. But yeah. And again, better out than in, really feeling our emotions. The healing is in the feeling. And it comes to, it also speaks to the practice that you and I met doing, which was the RAIN practice. Recognize the feeling, allow it, investigate, and nurture which I feel like that is a whole episode in itself. And I would love to do that in a future episode with you, Ruby, as we can kind of go over our RAIN partners practice, because it's another way, another tool that helps you learn how to feel your feelings and how to interact with them and how to process them in a positive way without needing to numb them with alcohol. Yeah, it's a lifelong practice. It's something that I'm still working on.
I just wanted to recommend that if you're interested in finding out more. So
it's a beautiful book. Like I learned that we use the term jealousy a lot. Like, oh, I'm so jealous of that, but it's really if I'm jealous of your beautiful hair, Ruby, that's not jealousy. That's envy. Right. I learned that from this book, which your hair looks beautiful today, by the way. And if you're desirable or you like one thing from somebody, jealousy is when like you and somebody else are friends and I'm jealous of your guys' friendship. So that's different. So envy is more when you just, I realize how often just, using the right word and also finding out which words are in which families, the resentments in. Oh, do you remember this? Resentment is it in the anger family or is it anyway? Finding out the family that there was something key about resentment too, which was really interesting to me in that book. So it's a fabulous book and it's a beautiful book. It's a gorgeous, practically a coffee table book, except I have tons of sticky notes on it. So
me too.
It's beautiful. So in addition to Atlas of the Heart, what is something that helps you feel lit? So that's our ending question of the podcast is, what are you doing in your life? Ruby, it's your turn to feel lit today. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should do this more because I tend to go to the negative. I tend to lay there in bed and go, okay, what did I not do well today or what do I want to do better? And I love that focusing on what you did well, even if it's not a task or something, even if it's like, oh, I had a really great interaction with my son today and I call it not taking the bait. Sometimes with adult children, I try to fix all their problems, you know what I mean? And that's not always well received. Sometimes they just want to vent. And so it's like, ooh, I didn't jump in and try to fix everything. I just was a good sounding board. And that's something that I did well today. And focusing on that keeps you focused on the positive, which generates more of those things in your life versus all, focusing on the negative of how, things you want to improve. I think it's always good to think about what you want to improve on, but I think that we just naturally go there anyway. So at least for me, I don't really ever give myself quote unquote credit for doing things well. I need to celebrate more often. That was something that was really hard for me in early alcohol-free living, which is such an important part of the process, is learning how to celebrate your little wins. Because I'm always just like, oh yeah, okay, I did that. What's next? And like, no, you got to celebrate build small wins upon small wins and celebrate all along the way. So I love the what have you done well today practice.
Yes.
I think it's really important in our alcohol-free journey. Very, very important. So
yes,
again, we would love to see you in our Facebook group. That is where we got the question that we answered today. And we want to answer your questions. And we would love it if you leave your question in your review of the podcast, which we would adore if you did. And also we would love for you to join us there because we do post things. We go live. We offer a lot of value also in the Facebook group. So we would love for you to join us over there. It's the Feel Lit Podcast Facebook group. And today we have to mention, even though you listeners cannot see us, Ruby and I are wearing our matching shirts, which Ruby made. So I'm just going to give you a little shout out there. They're gorgeous pink color and beautiful. Yay. Yes. And so cute. And I love it so much. Thank you so much.
Oceans.
Yay.
So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for listening to Feel Lit Alcohol Free Podcast. Do you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show?
All you need to do is head over to Apple Podcasts and do two simple things. Leave a rating and review telling us what you think of the show, and in that review, ask us any questions you have about breaking free from wine or living an alcohol-free lifestyle.
That's it. Then tune in to hear your question answered live. Don't forget to grab your copy of A Wine-Free Weekend at www.feelitpodcasts.com.
And remember, do something today that will help you feel lit.
See you next time.